Yeah, I haven't had supper yet, so
All right, let's get a move on then.
at about 10 to 8, I'll be like.
It's Song Talk Radio with Michael, Neil, Phil, and the gang.
Welcome to Song Talk Radio, the show with songwriters talking to other songwriters about the craft of songwriting. We share tips, tools, and techniques, and together we all become way better at songwriting. I know I am. Neil, are you way better since this show began? I don't mean this particular
absolutely.
episode. I mean the podcast. And Phil?
I am better.
Or did you mean
All
since
right.
this show began like 12 seconds ago?
No, I meant the,
In
6
general,
years ago,
okay.
however long
At
this
the macro
podcast
scale. All
has
right.
been out there.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely yes.
Hi, everyone. I'm your host, Mike Proudfoot, and with me are the members of the Song Talk Radio Action team, my co-hosts, Phil Emery. Hello, Phil. How are you?
I'm very excited, and I bought a trackball on the weekend for working in a digital audio workstation. Very excited.
Oh, a track. I thought it was like an exercise thing.
Could be.
For your wrist, for your fingers.
Oh, well, that's good. No more carpal tunnel for you. And
No.
Neil, how are you? How was
I'm
your
doing good. Enjoyed the
family
long
day,
weekend
your
and-
Valentine's Day?
Yeah, it was fun and excited about the show tonight. It's going to be neat.
So am I. And I'd just like to remind our audience that during the show, if you please feel free to send your comments and questions to @SongTalkRadio on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram, or you can email us at feedback@songtalk.ca, and we will share them with you, with the rest of the audience. And please visit us at songtalk.ca to find out how you could be a guest on the show. Tonight, we're going to dive back into our 2021 Song Talk Challenge, where the task is to create a song with a chord progression that never changes. A few weeks ago, you heard what we three came up with, and tonight, you're going to hear some of our listeners' songs. We've had a lot of contributions from the audience, so tonight's show is just the beginning. We will have another listener response to the Song Talk Challenge next month. And if these entries keep on coming, we will continue to feature these songs on upcoming episodes. So hopefully you will feel inspired. I hope so, because we would love to hear what you're doing. But right now, we have the first round of audience songs, and we'll get to that shortly. Phil, Neil, do we have any music news, any listener emails, anything that we should share before we get
Well,
into
of course,
the meat
the
of the show?
Of course, the untimely death of Chick Corea.
Mm-hmm.
He was quite young, just in his 70s, and a huge presence in the jazz world.
Yeah. I admit I didn't know a lot about him. I remember taking like a jazz appreciation class in university, and he came up and I was like, wow, he was a wicked good piano player and just inventive and interesting. Didn't really listen to him much since then, but our good friend of the show, Jeff Greenway, shared a video on Facebook where Chick Corea was in a small theater with an audience. This was recently, like within the last few years, and he did this thing they said he used to do when he was a kid, that he would pick someone from the audience, have them sit down beside the piano, and he would just look at them. They would say their name, and that's it, nothing about themselves, and he would improvise a piece on the piano that supposedly kind of reflected their personality or their thing. So you got a girl, and then you got a guy, and it was just like this. The guy had just passed away, and I couldn't stop smiling at this thing because it was so kind of cool and inventive and beautiful. It really
neat.
neat. You'll have to look it up,
Neat.
and we'll put it in the show notes because it was really quite a wonderful thing.
Yeah, let's put that there. So
Michael,
look
you
for it
were-
after the show's over.
Michael, you were mentioning about the new Paul McCartney album and how
Oh, I'm listening to it over and over again. It's his kind of lockdown album. He's played like a few of his other albums, like Ram, his first one. He played all the instruments on it, and it's great. It's really inventive and sonically interesting. It's really worth listening to.
Wow,
What's
I
it
didn't
called?
even
I should
know he
also
had dropped a
mention
new
this-
album.
Yeah, it's called McCartney III. But it's really good, really worth checking out. Great sound.
And I was
too.
saying that
some of it goes on a bit and you go, oh, someone's having fun in the studio, but it is terrific. Like even
But
the opening
it's-
song is like a kind of a heavy rocker, but it's an acoustic. And everybody check it out.
For sure.
it's nice to have an older artist put out really good quality music, because very often people's peak is in their younger years when they're sharp, and they have maybe things are a bit closer to the surface. It's nice to
Yeah,
have.
their antenna are up. They haven't got as comfortable. They're still maybe got something to prove. But this is really like a contemporary sounding album without aping any modern musical trends. There's no trap music in it, and or no vocal tricks that are out of his league or anything like that. No, it's really an interesting record, worth listening to. Also,
Excellent.
for songwriters, you got to note that this is the 50th anniversary of Carole King's Tapestry, which is a very, very successful album. But it is such a great songwriters album. The way that
How many hits were off of that album?
probably every song, 4 or 6 or
Yeah.
something. It's Too Late. Feel the Earth Move. I don't know about Natural Woman if that was a hit. It was a hit, obviously, for Aretha Franklin.
Right. Okay.
And what's it about a friend that James Taylor recorded? So you've got a
Right.
friend.
I knew the first time I heard that song was the House Martins doing it. So
You've got a friend.
yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. She and other co-writers, especially her first husband Jerry Goffin, are responsible for like 300 or 400 hit songs. Like, it's amazing how good a writer she is.
Yeah, and it's again, it's a song. It's a bunch of work that if you actually just sat down and analyzed it and pulled it apart, you can actually learn how to write great songs just by sort of figuring out how it works. Because
Yeah,
she's such a master.
like musically, how it goes into a bridge, or how just the dynamics. Because she's not, like a powerhouse singer, but she's very open and honest, and you don't miss having like a Streisand or an Aretha Franklin singing these songs. You really get the intention.
Yeah. And really inventive, interesting melodies. Like she really used her voice in such a way that you don't mistake her songs for anything else.
No. And what I like about it is so many of the lyrics are so conversational. Like from it's too late. Doesn't anybody stay in one place anymore? Like, they just sound like musings to yourself or a conversation you'd have with someone.
Masterful stuff.
It's also the 40th anniversary of Rush's Moving Pictures album,
Oh, really?
1981.
When they got all kind of poppy. So
Yeah, when they it was really the bridge between them being like progressive and weird to being more arena rock
right.
sort of thing.
And speaking of Rush, any Rush fans out there with a lot of money, Alex Lifeson says he's going to be selling off his guitar collection for charity.
Oh wow.
Yeah, he said he's not really too beholden to his guitars. He said, the guitar is only as good as what you play on it.
Yeah, of
So,
course.
yeah, that's his theory, and he is, going to sell his guitars for charity. Like, I think David Gilmour did this from Pink Floyd and someone else.
I'm a fan of the first Rush record myself. I know it's unpopular, but
You just really didn't like Neil Peart.
yeah, no kidding. And like the cerebral prog stuff. Yeah. It was really, that first album was really steeped in Black Sabbath.
yeah, I got it. Good stuff.
Cool.
Right.
Well, speaking of songwriters, shall we get to the meat of the show? A couple of weeks ago, well, actually, it was in November where the challenge was, the gauntlet was thrown down. Write a song with a chord progression that doesn't change. And further to that was also, and the measure doesn't change as well, which I had to work around, but it was good. It taught me a lesson. And last month we unveiled our songs, and we got a lot of listeners sending in their songs, which is great. So we're going to listen to the first batch of them tonight, and there are all kinds of music being generated. So I'm not sure. Is there anything we should say before we get to the first one?
I was just thinking maybe we should go around, the three of us, and just say what it is we learned from this challenge, and so sort of what to listen for when we listen to these songs. Mike, you said you learned something. What did you learn?
Yeah, well, I learned a couple of things, or it really reinforced. I like writing with parameters. I like the discipline of being told you can do this and you can do that. I think that helps limit blue skying and helps you focus on the task. But specifically, what I learned was because I think I'd worked on it roughly, and then I talked to you guys, and you said, no, keep the measure the same too. And that was a big thing because to get out of the chorus each time, I'd been hanging on each of the two chords an extra beat. And when you said, no, can't do that, it forced me to not do that and come up with a different way. And it was a little difficult. It pushed me into an area that I would not have gone to. But I think the song that I came up with actually was better for it. And then the other thing was just how do you keep it interesting? Is it the dynamics of the playing, of the instrumentation, or is it is it what do you do vocally with the melodies? Do you have verses that are staccato, and then the bridge, the chorus is sort of elongated vowels and shorter words, or how do you do that? How do you make the same chord progression sound really, really different the whole way through? And so that challenge, this particular challenge, I think was really good for getting stuff out of me. Wasn't easy.
I think the thing to keep in mind with this kind of thing is to not think that you're going to be writing a hit song. That the purpose of a challenge isn't necessarily to get the best song, but to actually push yourself into using techniques that you wouldn't normally use, techniques that you're not familiar with. And, you might come up to a point where you're at the bridge and you don't know what to do. And you might come up with a solution that may not be the best solution, but by coming up with that solution, you'll actually sort of build muscle. That's kind of like what that, that one song a day for a year process is. The idea isn't to write a fantastic song each day, but just to write something to get that muscle. And I think that's one of the best things about a challenge is it's easy to say, well, it's mostly right, but in the bridge I changed it. But if you stick with the challenge, you actually will learn more about songwriting than you would otherwise. And I think that's the best thing.
Absolutely.
I agree. I think you have to submit to the boundaries established. Otherwise, you're not really going to learn as much as you could, and don't have the goal as being, I've got to write this great song. It's, okay, I've got to see what adhering to these principles and these rules, where does it lead me? Neil, what did you discover?
Yeah, for myself, I found that that my sense of melody is actually better than I give myself credit for, because for me it was all about how do I pull melodies out of the same chord progression. Because I lean on different chord progressions to give me different melodies, but that was the big challenge for me. And as well, the idea of writing with parameters and writing with intention, like this one very much felt like the last songwriting challenge. It felt like an assignment, and I needed to get it done. And it wasn't a question of just waiting around for inspiration. It was like, okay, I got to get to work on this thing, and I have the idea and I have the parameters to work with. So let's massage it a little bit more. Let's develop it a little bit more. And that really goes back to that sort of, inspiration versus editing idea that, when you have a task to complete, you just chip away at it and work at it until you get something that you're satisfied with. And that's the development of a song. And that's what we harp on all the time on the show. And it really came out strongly for me this time because I had different versions of it that I didn't like, and finally landed on something that I liked.
It is a craft. You can't just sit and wait for inspiration. You got to work at it. And as you say, chip away at it until you get something out of the marble that, looks like a nice sculpture.
If you're someone who does soundtrack work, you have a deadline and you have to provide music by this deadline because you're not the final step in the process. There's a lot of stuff that happens afterwards. So you have to produce and you have to start some ways. And sometimes it'll be genius and other times it'll be just be good. But hopefully you're experience will help you make something that's okay into something that's good, as opposed
Yeah.
to something that's fantastic.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think too many professional artists are in a position where they can just kind of write, and when it comes to me, when it's ready, I'll deliver it. Because even if you have a record deal, you have to deliver a certain number of songs by a certain deadline, and there will be people going, okay, where's the hit, or where's this doesn't sound like you, or there's always going to be parameters, and there's going to be deadlines, and waiting for inspiration is not going to help you. It's
Did you
wonderful
guys-
when you can ride a wave of inspiration, but working on your craft is a much more profitable
And
and
dependable.
productive way to go.
Did you guys start off with a chord progression and then work from there?
This challenge? No.
Yeah.
No. I started with lyrics and melody. Lyrics and then melody and chord progression kind of came at the same time. But then I kept changing my chord progressions.
Yeah, I did. That's because I was playing around with that drop D form. So I thought, I'll see what I can make with this. So I did start with chords this time.
That's usually
you,
what I
Phil?
start. Yeah, I started off with that riff, and I've had that riff, so I just basically looped that riff and figured out what to do on top of that.
It worked out well.
All right.
Okay.
Well, I want to get to what our listeners
Let's hear our
brought
listeners.
in, our audience. It was great. We've had a lot, too much for one show, which is wonderful. Hopefully they'll keep coming in. We'll have too much for two shows. But let's get to our first listener song. Sorry, I'm just going to try to find it here.
Let's start with Mike
There it is,
Davies.
volume 1. This would be Mike Davies, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So his song is called An Algorithm Said. The chord progression, for those of you following along at home, is a G, A minor, C, D. Though he does hang on the D for a little bit. And so he's new to Song Talk Radio, so let's throw him in the deep end. Let's hear the song.
All right.
Monday, went to see about alone. Was told to go back home. There's a URL, So Tuesday, punched my details in online, and in 2 minutes' time, an email said I was declined. Maybe past my earning prime, old and getting complicated. Been divorced 3 times, maybe madly. Sadly, that's it. An algorithm said I didn't fit. Wednesday, bought some gardening supplies, a couple of new toys, great bulk discounts applied. Thursday, the SWAT team came to call by kicking down my door. Thought I was planning to bomb them all. Planning nothing like that at all. But the fertilizer, fireworks, the petrol and the drone attacked me, nabbed me. A profile fit. An algorithm said something's amiss. Friday, went out and hit the town, feeling the wrong way round, and I saw Sophie from Southdown. Saturday morning, walked to calipers on my nose, micrometer on my toes, typing measurements in a phone. By the time I got back home, she'd text to say that her and I were not a golden ratio, unlikely to marry. Sadly, that's it. An algorithm said we didn't fit. Oh, madly, sadly, that's it. An algorithm said we didn't fit. Oh, madly, sadly, that's it. An algorithm said we didn't fit.
right, Mike Davies.
Mike Davies from
Davies.
An Algorithm Said.
Very nice.
And just from his use of petrol, I might imagine that he is further overseas.
Oh, yeah.
Well, yeah, I had to look down south down.
England
It's in merry old England. So
Yeah, perhaps. What did you think of that, Neil?
I quite liked it. I mean, I like the little guitar ditty. I like the contrast between this being a kind of old-fashioned folk song, yet it's about, modern technology and all that sort of stuff. I do enjoy that. Like, I don't know if you'd call that a contrast in prosody or not, but the song doesn't sound like what it's about.
Right. It's a kind of an old-fashioned style of music or genre, singing about very modern problems.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I do like his. I mean, it's kind of a verse refrain type of structure. I do like his refrain about the sadly that's it. And Algorithm said we didn't fit. That's where he gets more rhymey, like more perfect rhymes there, and it does pull out as a bit of enough contrast for that style of music, I think. I wonder, like he's right about hanging on to the D chord at the end of certain sections. I didn't count it out, but I don't think he was being perfectly consistent about the challenge in that case. Was he not? It wasn't when he was hanging on the D.
I don't think so.
Structure every time.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
It was a little bit different.
And I guess to Phil's point, I mean, I thought the song was good, but if you want to challenge yourself, then you can perhaps learn more by boxing yourself into something rigid. But as a song,
yeah, because he did say in his email, admittedly, I dwell on the D, but that's all part of making an unchanged progression work. Well,
yeah. So,
how about you, Phil? What did you think?
I liked, well, lyrically, I really like the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday theme. That's a great way of...
Friday, I'm in love.
Yeah.
has a sense of progression.
Yeah. And lots of great little sort of, tight rhymes within the line. There was something I was going to mention, is that the end of his line, the algorithm said I didn't fit. He left it up on a high note, and for some reason I wanted to hear it go down. An algorithm said we didn't fit, or something, didn't fit. Or
A bit more resolved that way?
Yeah, just a bit more resolved. But that's... that's a bit of a quibble, but that's, I really liked it. I thought it was really fun. It was, didn't do too much, and it was, but really tight. I mean, conceptually tight from top to bottom, which I thought was great. I love the stuff that we're not a golden ratio and likely to marry.
Yeah, it's cute.
Yeah, lyrically, I think it was really top notch, and there was enough kind of dynamics where sometimes it was low and sometimes it was quite energetic to, give you different. So you knew what the geography of the song was. You knew where you were, and then at the end, there was a different melody with the same chords. So, yeah, I thought it was terrific. I hope we can hear more from Mike Davies.
Yeah,
to hear
definitely
more
got
what he can do.
some cool
really,
tunes.
really great lyrics, and it's funny because it's true. So yeah, kudos, Mike. Really, really, thank you for sending that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Nice.
let's see who we have next.
It's Sadie, I believe.
It's Sadie. Oh yeah, and Sadie is a singer-songwriter from Toronto. She heard about our challenge from a friend and decided to share this song. It's called Dirty Introvert. She hasn't listed what the chords are, but let's take a listen and see how it works out.
I figured out what the
yes?
chords are.
All right.
It was
Share that with the class, please.
Yeah, what's that?
I said, would you like to share that with the class?
I will share that with the class. It was a G major 7, an F major 7, C, and then a C. So four bar loop, G major 7,
With 3 chords.
F major 7, C for 2 bars.
Okay, cool.
So yeah,
All right, let's listen
5 4 1.
to Sadie Aliza.
give you the sign. I keep my hands to myself, can't control my dirty mind. Your ghost fills up this dark room. Are you craving me now? I've been letting the clock slip. I've been spending you time. I can't slow it down, no. I can feel my heart drown. Just the thought of you. It seems to get me through. Just the thought of you.
All right. That
Very
was
nice.
Dirty Introvert. Oh, wait. She did list the chords. Sorry. But thank you for doing the homework, Neil. Dirty Introvert by Sadie, Aliza. Phil, what's your take on that?
Great song. I mean, she was really able to get a lot of movement and a lot of separation of the song's sections through just sort of melody and actually the way she sang the words, which I thought was so masterful. It's a wonderful way of taking something that's simple and still make it interesting, you know? So yeah, definitely a great tune. Really liked it. Fantastic production as well.
Yeah, very nice. Neil, what'd you think?
Yeah, I really like this one. It's kind of sultry and smooth, and the 6/8 time it reminded me of that Chris Isaak song from way back when.
Wicked
Wicked
Game.
Game. Kind of reminiscent in some ways. Yeah, I really like the variation in the melodies. Like they're kind of in and out, and she left some space in a lot of parts of it, and then the pickup for the tagline, just the thought of you seems to get me through. Really strong sort of resolution to the whole progression in that sense. I mean, the progression is obviously the same the whole way through, but in terms of the lyric and the melody,
Yeah, the melodic resolution at that point, it makes it feel like a chorus, even though it's
Yeah.
not strictly verse-chorus.
She did say in her email, I initially named it Dirty Introvert. I think I'll keep that name for now because the title never shows up in the lyric.
No, I would think it might, like, if it's going to be this from the song, it would be maybe just the thought of you would be the song title. But
Yeah,
because that gets repeated, and that seems to be the stickiest melody in the song.
it is certainly stickiest melody. It's kind of a conventional title, I suppose. Just the thought of you.
Yes.
There's
Yeah.
probably a billion songs with that title, but eh.
Well, then you
Oh,
put
yeah.
in brackets Dirty Introvert.
Dirty Introvert. Yeah. Always the bracketed titles.
Oh, the
Well,
brackets will save you.
Yeah.
It's tough because, people listen to stuff on streaming services and they may not be looking at what the title is. So titling is kind of an important thing, I think.
Yeah, they'll call it what they remember it by.
Yeah. It's not like
Yeah,
in the old days.
I thought the instrumentation of it was really good at delineating the different parts of the song, and like I said, the second verse, I guess it's a verse. Nothing was really that clearly defined. Is way longer than the first one.
Yeah.
And and sometimes things would rhyme, sometimes they weren't, and I'm kind of a fan of. If you don't want to rhyme, don't rhyme. Like if
Don't have to rhyme.
if everything else in the song is working, if your melodies are good and your intentions are clear and the music is on point, you don't need to rhyme.
And
There's some great
it's
songs
that
out there that don't rhyme.
it's the tag at the end, just the thought of you. It seems to get me through. That's the only time she uses a couplet rhyme. right? It's an A. In the verses, she's kind of A, B, A, B. It's a little bit less concrete and less resolved that way. But that's the only time I think that she uses an actual couplet.
Yeah, that's true.
And you do the same thing with your song, Mike. Your second verse was a little bit longer than or shorter. I can't remember what it was.
Shorter,
but
yeah,
the point is,
yeah.
when you got a short loop like that, you can just roll it, keep it rolling as long as you need to.
Exactly. You introduce it, and then once you get it going, then okay, you pick up the pace a bit, and not by making the song faster, but by making the changes occur quicker in the song, which is another way to make the song, go faster or to have a good sense of forward momentum. If the changes between pre-chorus, verse, pre-chorus, whatever, occur quicker, then the song feels like it's getting to a conclusion better, quicker.
I've always wondered about that. It's, because I've often done songs where there's a variation on the second verse. But then I was thinking, if you've only heard this song once, you haven't heard a repetition enough for a variation to be a variation. So if you have
I
three
think
verses,
you pick up on it at a less than conscious level.
do you?
Yeah.
Especially if there's hooky melodies or something, like you get on board with it and you anticipate where things are going to go, and if it surprises you but still pays off, then I think that's part of what's pleasing to the ear.
I thought that you'd have the variation on the last verse, but
Yeah, and when you say variation, like that's a broad term. Like in Sadie's song, it's clearly another verse that we're going into. It's just she put a little more stuff in it, right? And it's a little bit longer, but it's clearly the same thing. It's not it's not the same thing as if you invented a completely different melody and call that a variation, and that's going a little bit too far. And then you'd be right. There's not enough repetition for you to really establish the thing. But I think it depends how you do it.
Yeah, I mean, you could take your variation could be that the melody is the same, just sung either a little higher or a bit more passionately, or there's different ways to provide variation that still keep the listener knowing where it's going.
that's true.
But this is great. Again, Sadie, especially, actually, in COVID, it doesn't matter. I was going to say, because you're in Toronto like we are, keep it coming, but it really doesn't matter. You could be anywhere. And it would still work. But that was
great stuff.
Thank you for sharing that, Sadie. That was great. We will move on now.
All right,
Unless
next.
you guys have anything else to say about Dirty Introvert?
Let's get to the next one.
No,
Let's get to the next one. Because we're busy people here, and we've got lots of songs. The next one is from Lorenzo Policelli. It's called Tesla's Bagel Shop, bracket,
words.
What Life Can Make You Ask, bracket. So, sometimes having a bracket in your song can help.
A lot of words.
And my goodness, there's a lot of lyrics. Let's see how this goes. This
song,
is Tesla's Bagel Shop. Yes, Phil, sorry.
this song has more lyrics than actually any of my albums.
Yeah, a lot of words.
I'm very impressed.
And there's no preamble from Lorenzo either. We don't know where it came from, how it was inspired. We know nothing. So let's give it a spin. Drop it down on the
song that can
turntable.
make you ask.
Yeah, yes.
Sunrise slowly creeps. The old man has a nightmare. The boy rubs both his eyes. He yawns towards his bundle. The old man starts but stumbles, blinded by his tears, reminded of his fears that faced his generation in a far-off different time and place. The tears roll down his face, remembering his mother, his father, remembering his wife, his daughters who were baked in an oven grave. And in life's little ironies, today he is a baker, an esteemed bagel maker, a friend of his paper boy, who always sees the lights and always smells the warmth and always stops to talk in Tesla's Bagel Shop. Oh, nightmares have a way of ruining your
day, so the old man didn't rise. The boy begins to worry. Today there is no lights, today there is no warmth. And he feels a little cold inside, so he breaks in the back and makes his way upstairs to find the old man on his bed, burying his head. The old man tells his nightmare, reluctantly but sure, to just a little boy who could only listen. But this is what he missed, and he told them how some hoods broke in and broke his oven, and broke his body too, and burnt his helpless bagels. He smiled at the little boy, and his tears came to a halt. So he took the boy downstairs to Tesla's bagel shop. Oh, it all seems such a task. What life can make you ask, what life can make you dream. The boy gave him his paper and chewed on a day-old heaped with strawberry jam. He walked backward up the street so that he could feel the heat, so that he could see the lights that shine on them so bright and cause the hurt to stop in Tesla's bagel shop.
Wow.
Yeah, I would have liked to have known a bit about the origins of this song. But interesting. It made me think, in a way, Phil, of when we talked about songs like this, Werewolves of London. It's a long story song where there isn't a lot of repetition. There's just like a moment where we come back to the same point, Werewolves of London or Tesla's bagel shop. So that aspect of it was quite interesting, and then there was like a definite, I guess it was a refrain more than a chorus. But I'm not sure of the intention of the song, and if more melodic or musical variation would help tell the story in a more scenic way.
I don't know. I have I like a lot of different kinds of music. I mean, I love stuff like The Residents, or like it's an outsider sort of no wave, I think, as they call it. And this is, it's a story about a paper boy and a baker, and their friendship. And I liked it because it's not a verse, chorus, sing-songy, hey, here we going. Like, it was a very intentional artistic statement, and I kind of appreciated it that way. And it's brought to my mind other stuff that is kind of like this, which is just, it's kind of a stream of consciousness. Well, not really a stream of consciousness. It's actually a pretty tight tale. And I loved it. It kind of puts you into this world of, and it brought to mind The Residents. Sometimes some of their story pieces are kind of like that. And I mean, it's a lot of, there's a lot of lyrics, and he doesn't repeat anything, and he doesn't have a chorus.
Except for the refrain.
Except for the refrain. So it's not actually too long a song either. I think it's
Three
like
minutes.
2
it's a
minutes,
regular
50
length
seconds.
song.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually quite short.
Yeah,
So
I
it
mean,
was-
there's no intro. He goes right into it off the top.
Yeah, so I kind of thought it was sort of neat, actually.
Yeah,
certain-
like I said, I would have liked to have heard the like a bit of the origin, or what he was, where it came from, or what he was intending.
Yeah, it's certainly a unique piece and quite different. And there's a couple of things that kind of threw me off. Like you say it's about, a baker and a boy, but there's some really dark stuff. It was a wife and daughters who were baked in an oven grave. The line kind of threw me. Was like, whoa, where are we going here? It sounds like really like murder happening, something. And so it's a little bit strange that way. The thing that really threw me, all these songs, I've been trying to just play along with them on my piano to, see how the chords work and everything. There's 3 chords in this song: F major 7, E minor, C major 7. So he built a 3-bar loop. because they're one bar each, and then loops that. But then the lyrics don't necessarily line up in triplets. Like they're not in threes. Sometimes they're in fours. Sometimes they're a little bit like it's almost like a polyrhythm thing happening in terms of the lines, the way the lines are built lyrically and melodically, and the chords, because they kind of shift and it gives the whole song this kind of meandering strangeness feel to it, right? And he always comes back to that refrain, or only comes back to it really, well, three times.
Three times. Yeah.
And the third time, the verse before it is quite a bit shorter. It's about half the length. So yeah, really interesting. Interesting that all three songs so far, none of them have had, like you say, Phil, like a sing-songy, really clearly defined chorus. They're all kind of verse refrain songs, and none of them have a bridge.
That's
so
true.
far.
I guess that's true, isn't it?
Yeah, they don't have traditional, well, pop song structure. They're
Yeah.
Yeah.
story songs,
verse
or
refrain
they're-
arguably is more traditional than a verse chorus structure. I don't
Yeah,
know.
it's an older
Yeah.
Yeah,
type
it's
of
true.
musical structure. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But
So-
yeah, quite interesting to have such variety without even at this point having a song with a bridge or a verse, chorus, bridge, chorus kind of structure or anything.
Yeah, I really
This
enjoy
one is
that.
very much a story song. I mean, the lyric is really what drives it more than anything else.
Yeah,
You know.
I would be interested to hear other songs of his to see what his
Yeah.
style of music is. If this is an aberration for this, or this is the kind of music that he works in.
Nick Cave.
So Lorenzo, give us more.
Nick Cave.
Yeah, it did remind me a bit of Nick
Seeds.
Cave.
Yeah, because he has those kind of story songs.
Yeah, almost hymnal, or
Yeah.
like psalms, or there is something to that.
Right.
So, and if you haven't heard Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, you should.
Yeah, or even Nick Cave without the bad seeds.
That's true.
Or even Grinder Man, which is great, another band of his. He decided he
Grinder Man?
Grinder Man, yeah. There's
Was
some great
he-
songs on that.
He was in the birthday party, wasn't he?
He was in the birthday party as well. He did a great show last year, 2 years ago, at Convocation Hall, where he played piano and interacted with the audience. I'll try to make this quick. So a tragedy befell Nick Cave a few years ago. His 15-year-old son fell off a cliff, I think, in Dover. And he'd always been a very aggressive, assaultive performer where he challenged the audience, like Iggy Pop or some other. But after that, he reevaluated his relationship with the audience. And now he's been doing these tours where he really breaks that down and has conversations. And it was just a really amazing evening of music and conversation where he talked and listened more. He listened to people talking to him about his music and how it had impacted them. And occasionally he would be inspired by what they said, and he'd go to the piano and play a song, and he'd come back. And, some people were sharing their loss of a loved one. Some people were, really particular about certain songs or periods in his life. And it was a really unique evening of song. And I think he's still, obviously not during COVID, but that's the way he's been touring lately. I think it's called In Conversation with Nick Cave, and I would highly recommend it. It's just a really interesting musical evening.
Interesting.
And I'd love to hear more from Lorenzo too.
Indeed.
And
Bring it on.
okay, we've got time for one more. And
Alrighty.
if you've sent in your song and you haven't heard it yet, then we'll be doing another episode, at least one more episode of this show in sometime next month. This one song is from our friend Don Thompson. And he had said he started playing a simple progression on an acoustic guitar, a C, and then instead of going to your regular chords of G and D, he just slid up the neck of the guitar and keeping the C formation, and it kind of, I guess, it gave a jangly, sort of airy feeling to it. And he added a bit more to that, and so that's where the song came from, that airy feeling, and he wrote the lyrics from that. He was going to change it a bit. So every time he added a change on the chorus, it took him out of the song, so he just left it the way it was. He couldn't come up with lyrics, so he just did a kind of a ba-da-ba thing, which
Nothing wrong with that.
when I'd heard it, I said to him, I go, oh, I keep meaning to write a song that doesn't have lyrics, but it's kind of, I'm afraid to, to
Yeah.
just let it coast on the melody. So, so the chord stays the same and the atmosphere stays in space because the song is called Interstellar Love. Let's take a listen to it.
Left my home 1,000,000 miles ago, never felt so alone. Tried to brush away the pain, thrills and startups just don't work. Youth and inexperience put us here, no place, no home. Interstellar love burns so bright and so strong. Boom, ba-da, boom, ba-da, boom, interstellar. Boom, ba-da, boom, ba-da, boom, interstellar. Boom, ba-da, boom, ba-da, boom, interstellar we breathe the same air, 1,000,000 miles away alone. Our time passes by, gone like light inside black holes. Interstellar love shines so bright and so long. Boom, ba-da, boom, ba-da, boom, interstellar. Boom, ba-da, boom, ba-da, boom, interstellar. Boom, ba-da, boom, ba-da, boom, interstellar. Boom, ba-da, boom, ba-da, boom, interstellar love. Glad we met, had to go. Hope you never feel alone.
All right.
Nice.
Interstellar Love from Don Thompson.
Love it.
Very cool. Very cool. Neil, what do you think?
Yeah, I really like it. I like like the expansiveness of it, like all the stacked guitars and everything makes it feel very space. There's lots
Yeah,
of
great
lots
great
of
prosody, right? It sounds like
yeah.
what it's
It
about.
sounds like what it's about. I think my favorite line in the song is "brushed away your hair so I could stare into the sun."
Yeah, I think that's a neat line in any love song.
Yeah,
It doesn't have to
it
be.
reminded me of a They Might Be Giants song. I forget which one it was, but the line went like, "You're in my heart where my blood should be."
That's right.
But Don managed to get a good amount of mileage out of different melodies. Like the boop bada really stands out
Really hooky.
strong.
Yeah.
It's catchy. I don't know. Is that a refrain or is that a chorus? Yeah,
That's a chorus.
It's a chorus.
It's a
I think it's a
chorus.
chorus.
Definitely a chorus.
It's a chorus. And he did the same thing I did. He did the same thing as I did with my song. He ended it hanging on the dominant instead of bringing it back to the one.
Yeah,
So,
letting it drift off into
let
space.
it drift off in his face. Beautiful.
I heard an earlier version of it,
Okay.
and his vocals were mixed down a bit more. And in a way, I kind of like that a bit better because he seemed a bit more lost in the space. It was funny. I got a different mood from it when the vocals were mixed a bit higher. But I think the slide really is evocative too. It's all these things that sustain forever, like just you're drifting forever. And finally, we got a verse, chorus, bridge, chorus.
Yeah.
Is that a bridge though, or is it another verse? I think it's another verse.
Well, when you're doing the same chord progression, how would you? I guess yeah, you're right because it's not a different lyrical perspective, and it is kind of the same melody as the previous verses. It's just
But it acts like a bridge.
much more hushed.
Yeah. So
yeah,
I mean,
Production wise, it drops down by
yeah. I mean, the role of a bridge is to cleanse the palate, so
Okay.
that the refrain gets that much tastier. And so I think it does kind of fulfill that by sort of changing enough of the song so that when he comes back into the boo-bop, that it feels strong again.
Yeah, it really picks up.
Okay.
Oh,
You also got
I
that
was
instrumental
just
break,
speaking
which
of
is that.
kicking in when you come back, I was watching one of those YouTube videos where the producer talks about recording a song, and he said, "Here's a little tip." And what he did is cut out like just the last beat of the bridge before. So it's like there's like say a bass playing like just pumping eights or something like that, and he took out the very last beat before the chorus. So there's all this almost imperceptible dropout, and then the chorus kicks in much stronger. I thought, there's an interesting recording tip.
Nice.
If you want to be loud and powerful, then be really, really quiet before.
You
That's
just
good
get that
contrast.
1 second where there's like catching a breath
Yep.
before you
I'll have to try
head
that
into the
out.
storm.
And definitely the chorus is very strong because it really sounds, that Buddha, like in the fact that there's no lyrics there, it didn't feel like it was missing anything,
No, and when you're talking about something extraterrestrial, who knows what other worlds there are out there, what other languages? It's hard to, speak English. Damn it, doesn't seem appropriate.
What did you guys think of him inserting the title in the middle of the second verse? Interstellar love, burned so bright and so long. He does in the last verse too, actually.
Yeah, he does.
I thought it was interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would have done that myself. Because I think it's such a good, this is a good enough song where I think he could have found a sort of a better line there.
That's what I was thinking.
Because it's a really good song.
It is.
Yeah, I think it's true.
That'd be my only nit, if anything.
Yeah. It's nitpicking easy.
To me, it doesn't bother me. Like because it was nice. When I brushed away your hair so I could stare in the sun. Interstellar love, like it kind of it brought you into that moment, and the fact that then when it is repeated in the chorus, it just amplifies. Okay, that's what the emotion is that's going on, because there's so many other things. Oh my goodness! Already? Do you hear that?
Already.
I hear the music, and the music. Well, let's just wrap up. So, thank you, Don, for sending us that song.
Awesome song.
Great
Terrific.
stuff.
Yeah, can't wait to hear more from you. And it sounds like your newly reorganized studio is paying off in dividends. That was a lovely sounding record.
Yeah.
So thank you for sending that. And please, to all our listeners, stand by. We're going to have another listener song show in about a month. But that's all the time we have tonight on Song Talk Radio. So thank you for joining us for this show. Send us your emails, your impressions, your comments, your complaints, your credit card number to Twitter,
Recipes.
Facebook, or Instagram at Song Talk Radio, or send us an email at feedback@songtalk.ca, and be sure to check out our YouTube channel where you can see us talking in boxes, and occasionally we have live performances, but not in this COVID time. And please stop by songtalk.ca, where you can find lots of things like lists of products and books and web services and all the things we talk about on the show. And you can find out about the next Song Talk meetup, which is coming up soon. It's coming up Monday, the 22nd of February. So you can, it's like a songwriter circle. You bring in a song, play it, and people will give you feedback virtually, and you will give your feedback on other people's songs. It's
Squares in a circle.
It's wonderful. So go to songtalk.ca to find out more information on that. You can subscribe to this wonderful podcast anywhere you get your podcasts, such as Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher.com, Spotify, or Podcast Addict. And when you're at songtalk.ca, you can also sign up for a newsletter. There's so much there. If you want even more of us, you can find Neil. Where would we find you, Neil?
NeilModi.com.
Virtually. And Phil, virtually, where would we find you? You don't need your home address. PhilEmery.ca. And you can find me on Instagram at ProudFit420. It's just photographs, and I have not been keeping up with new photographs, so I'm sorry. But what you can get in terms of new information is if you go to songtalk.ca, you'll find lots of things. You can browse our past shows. There's information on how you could be a guest, and the meetup, and lots of other things. But the main thing is keep on writing and stay safe. Good night.
Good
So
night,
long.
everyone. Right on the hour.
Scene.
Right on.
Right on the hour.
Nicely
Good stuff.
timed.
Yeah. That's a good show, guys.
Yeah, no, interesting stuff.
Yeah, that was. I think that sounded very informative, and it's nice and supportive of our listeners.
Yeah. It's great that they sent the stuff in. Last time we did this, we didn't get nobody. But this
I
time
know,
around,
this
we're
is
getting heaps,
great.
which is
Great.
amazing.
I was writing a song on the weekend, actually.
Oh, nice.
So
You were?
yeah.
Excellent.
It's actually all chords at this point. So I don't even have like
Melody?
No riffs? Oh, I see. Right.
No.
I,
Well, it's
yeah, I've
kind of
been
riffy.
working on a song, and it's the first song I've written in decades that I wrote on an electric.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
I know.
Is it riff or is it chords?
I forget how it started, but it started out as chords. Then I did add a riff, and now I'm just circling around trying to figure out how to play it.
Just before the show today, I was watching Rick Beato's new video. You know, he does like the Spotify top 10 pop
yeah.
songs and analyzes them.
yes.
This week he did Spotify top 10 rock songs.
Oh yeah.
And going through them, and I think it was the number 4 song that it was. I've never heard of the artist before, but they featured Matt Cameron and Kim Thale from Soundgarden, and the guitar riff on that song. Holy crap! really,
really? I'm
cool.
gonna-
It's like nobody
gonna
does
track
guitar
that
riffs
down.
anymore, but man.
Yeah. Yeah, guitarists are kind of out of fashion in some ways.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean rock and roll. I mean unless you count Foo Fighters, and I don't.
Fighters was on his list, on the list.
So yeah, well I guess if he's doing Spotify rock songs, there's not a lot to choose from.
Well, enough for them to be a
Absolutely.
top 10, I guess. I don't know.
Well, they just have a new album out, and so
Well, it's tough.
Which
Rock's
one? 5
been
months
rebooted
ago?
so many
6 hours
times.
ago? The top rock songs. Okay, cool. I'll check that out.
Rick
Yeah,
Beato is
he's,
always good.
Yeah. And
Well, that's what.
he just amazes me how he listens to something once and then just plays it verbatim on the
Yeah.
guitar.
Oh, I
It's
know.
like, dude.
He's got good ears.
Comes from doing nothing else for 60
time.
hours a week for many
Yeah,
years.
this is what he's been doing all his life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'll bet. Like, I've got some friends in Vancouver, kind of big deal music producers, and that's what they do. And you go into their studio, and they have like 20 guitars, and they've played them all, and they know why each one is different. And like, yeah, I remember a story. This friend of mine, Dane, he was. I don't know if he'd already had a gold album with the Corrs, that Irish band. But anyway, he was having a meeting with Jessica Simpson and her manager. Okay, I don't know if this should be recording.
No.
And so this is before she'd recorded anything. And anyway, so I guess they were sussing him out to see if he would be a good producer for it because he'd produced other female artists. And this is Jessica Simpson. She's a virgin. Like, this is around the Britney Spears time when, like, a female performer's virginity was an aspect
Oh my
of their career.
What the hell?
It's just such a... And he was like, what the fuck are you telling me this?
Music industry is pretty icky.
Oh, boy.
Oh, my God, yeah.
Yeah,
It's like watching sausages being made. You won't eat them.
No.
Yeah, just don't.
Well, working in
ask
Much
for
Music
sausages.
kind of put me off music for a while. And not because Much was a bad place to work. It was fantastic. But the exposure to the music business and how slimy it is.
Oh, yeah. Well, the music industry has been screwing over musicians since there was a music industry, It's,
Yeah.
it's not
Well, they're
new.
getting really good at it now, huh? Spotify. What was that article that Gary Newman was doing? Like, he's
Yeah.
had his song and
A
he's made
a million plays. He got like 32 pounds or whatever it was.
Yeah, exactly. Like, how is
Insanity.
that defendable?
Yeah.
No, I don't know what they can do about it, but
I know. It's and they say, okay, we'll just tour and we'll make money, and then COVID happened.
Yeah.
So I don't
Exactly.
know how anyone's doing it.
Sell merch on Bandcamp. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess. Man, I don't want to be a downer. Sorry. Anyway, that was a great
that
show,
note.
guys.
fun stuff.
What do we got? Yeah, I'm gonna keep trying to figure out this fucking cakewalk
Yeah, just let me know.
time change.
That's so
That's
bizarre. Try.
I mean,
Did you send it to Phil and
maybe because
port
it's
it
an
into Cubase?
MP3.
Send it to
I'm
Phil.
sorry,
and-
what?
and send it to Phil. He can pop it into Cubase and see what happens. That way you know if it's
Sure.
the software or if it's the
good
file.
idea.
Right. Okay, I'll send you an MP3 of this and just see. It's at 75 BPM. It's even in the file name, and see if when you bring it in, if it stays at 75 BPM.
Send me a WAV file, not an MP3.
Well, that's what I told him.
Yeah, and
I-
I have made a WAV file and I haven't had a chance to check it. So maybe I'll try the WAV file.
But why should that make a difference? If it's 44.1, it's 44.1. Like,
If your decoder is goofy and it writes like goofy information into the file headers of an MP3, that used to happen in the bad old days, and you get all sorts of wacky things. So
I'll tell you one thing. When I was doing my EP video, I was doing the green screen thing, and I set up the green screen in my living room, and I had my entire album on my iPod, and I played it back on my iPod through my Bluetooth speaker, and lip synced to it, and that was that take of that video, right? And then when I plopped it back into my video editor and put in the WAV file from that I exported out of Cakewalk, after like 15, say 17 minutes, it started drifting. And by the end of the 21 minutes, it was like, beats off. And I was like, what the heck's going on? And the only thing I can figure is that the internal clock on the iPod is a slightly different rate than playing back through my Windows.
Yeah, that's why you need time
DW.
code. If you're going to edit a video, you need time code.
Yeah.
You need, because no matter any audio that's recorded wild, if you don't have a SIMT, it doesn't lock up.
Mm-hmm.
And if it doesn't lock up, it'll drift.
Yeah, had to
a
redo
lot
the
of
whole
studios
thing.
have an external clock.
Yes.
They actually have a piece of equipment that everything else is attached to and gets the clock from that. So
Yeah.
your DAW doesn't have an internal clock; it just goes to this external box. and everything.
Well,
and
your
apparently
your
clean
your audio
stuff up.
interface is the clock.
Yeah, but
Well,
it
actually,
may
no.
not have
Because your audio interface has a clock and your DAW has a clock,
Mm.
and they can be a little bit different. So the big studios just have one master clock, and their audio interface references the master clock, the DAW, all the external stuff. So everything's on the same clock.
And because I know studios that use Pro Tools, they actually use video. Like they record onto video because they can use SMPTE to lock it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
I just
like
know
they
in the
don't-
settings in Cakewalk, there's like internal timing master and internal recording master timing or something like that.
Yeah.
and it just defaults to the ASO driver for the interface. So that's why I figured the clock was part of the interface and not
It
like
can be.
the DAW is syncing to the interface. In other words,
But it can be. But, a lot of times it
know.
would be syncing to, you could have it sync to an external clock.
I suppose you could, but I mean, for my little studio, it's never been a problem until I did this thing with my iPod.
Yeah, I was going to say, if I were to play in time, it would be an issue, but I don't.
It's pretty your style.
But I'll try it with the WAV file this weekend, and if it's still a problem, then I'll send it to Phil and see if your Cubase has it drift as well. But yeah, it's like it's just a drum loop. It should be real simple.
It shouldn't be an issue really, but
I mean, it's me playing to a drum, but it starts with like even within the first 4 bars, it's out.
yeah, it drifts really, really quickly. It's like I was
So you're
surprised.
sure not, is one recorded at 48, one recorded at 44?
No, they're both 44 and 24 bits. That I checked. So
Well, MP3s are not 24-bit. Like they don't. They're 16-bit.
yeah, it's a pretty
But again, that shouldn't matter.
no.
Yeah,
it's
but
digital.
MP3s are they're pretty squonky actually. You don't realize there's a lot of error correction. There's a lot of drop frames and stuff in MP3s.
Yeah, and all it takes is one drop frame,
Yeah.
and it'll be off.
One drop frame every, 10 seconds can, by the end of a song, things will be out.
Especially since I do orchestral pieces of 20 minutes and more.
That's true.
No, if I have a song that's 4 minutes, I'm like, okay, I got to rewrite this one. This is way too long.
Yeah, the Hookers had a 5-minute song, and there was a lot of debate about whether or not we should be putting a progressive rock song on the album. What is this, art?
Not when Phil's around. Ain't gonna happen.
No.
Da, 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 da. All right, gentlemen.
Okay, cool, guys.
Good show.
Okay,
All right,
good
we'll
show.
speak on
Yeah.
Thursday.
Yes, we shall.
See you on Thursday.
All right.
Who do we
okay.
have next week? Who do we have next week?
I forget.
Somebody.
All right, well, we'll talk. We'll find out on Thursday. Okay.
Bye.
All right. Cheers.
Good night.